everyone, welcome back to another process video, and welcome back to August edition of Year with My Gnomies. I am again using the Year with My Gnomies collection, and I am going to be putting these together. For those that are new and might want to know, I have used, there is like an intro video that shows you what I used. But basically one of the pattern paper packs of the Year with My Gnomies and 2 of the solids. Now, I have suggested in past videos, so if you're new, also I will quickly just add in that if you're going to follow along and follow my measurements and everything, I highly suggest getting a second pattern paper pack. It will just make life a little bit easier. I am going to add the measurements onto the screen when it comes to the page that I'm working on. Please note, I do add the word gutted sometimes because it just was not as easy to do this as I was hoping that it would be. And at this point, I was already making them and I didn't want to go buy a second paper pack, which is why I'm suggesting that if you do want to follow, you should buy a second paper pack because it just will be and when I say paper pack, I mean the pattern paper pack. It comes with 24 pattern papers and sticker sheets. 2 sticker sheets, I think, with stickers enough for each one of the months. If you wanted to do this, but just do the single page, then you do not need that extra paper pack. But if you're doing double pages on all of them like I am, then it just would make life easier. But you can just kind of follow along with my videos as well and go with what I'm doing, and it won't matter. It will be a little easier on you than it was for me, but I am trying to add the word gutted. And when I mean that, you'll just have to kind of see. A lot of times it just means that that's the square size of the pattern paper, and you just need to cut that square into like an L shape. So I'm hoping that all of that makes sense. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave me a comment below. Now, to get on with the layout, I showed you at the beginning the sample that is on the back. So the pattern paper pack comes with that sample sheet. I don't think I've ever mentioned that. So just so you know, that's where I am getting what I'm starting with. And I am turning that 1-page sample into double pages for each of them. What you see here is just some older pattern papers that I had that I didn't care for the pattern papers anymore. So some of them I cut down because the opposite side was white cardstock. So if you have a pattern paper that you don't like and you use a lot of white cardstock, feel free to look and see if you can turn that pattern paper into white cardstock like photo mats or use it as a background. But that is what the photo mats, some of them are made out of. So if you see random patterns on the screen, please know that that's where they came from. I am also inking all my edges with a gray close to my heart ink. I have to be honest, I got this, it's pewter, and it's like dark enough to almost have a black feel to it, but also light enough to, if you add like more pressure and more ink, then that's where the black feeling can come in. And it also has, if you do a little bit, don't ink it too much, and just a little bit less pressure, it can have the gray feeling. So it's really nice, and I haven't even pulled out any other ink. I haven't needed brown. It won't work obviously in place of brown, but I haven't pulled out my black ink and switched back and forth since I've got this ink, so it's really nice. So here's what I mean when I say the pattern paper is gutted. I am going to cut mine a little too short, just letting you know, so I will piece another paper to the side of the top of this L, but it works out for me. But you might want to cut yours just a little bigger. So again, if you're following along, you might want to wait and see exactly how I put mine together before making your page. If you're doing your own thing, by all means, go ahead. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm just letting you know because I know some people are following along. So I love the way this double page turned out. This is one of my favorites. And here's where I'm going to realize that I didn't make my L shape big enough. But once I've put that extra piece, because I haven't used that piece, I can just use the piece that was right next to it, so all the patterns will line up, which you don't see a lot, again, because it's such a small little area, but it lines up pretty nicely, so it's not noticeable. In fact, I ran my fingers along just to make sure when I was doing this voiceover that I could tell you whether or not it was pieced together, so I probably wouldn't have even noticed until I was watching the video. But as I was saying, I love the way that this turned out. It was one of the easier ones to do, one of the easier months. So there you go. You can see the patterns line right up next to each other. When I get to the end, I think I did mention before there is one that I just can't make a double page out of. So instead I kind of make two like pages that complement each other, but I'll talk about that when I get to that month. You can also see that I've obviously cut something out of this green already, so I didn't write that it was gutted on the measurement part, but you probably wouldn't have to, because again, I'm kind of like the person who's doing the experiments and you guys will just be the ones that are playing along. So I'm doing the experiment, but you guys just have to, give it a go. So I'm adding that down. I do want to point out, I think I mentioned the photo mats, but I don't remember now. The photo mats are all 3.5 by 5 because I knew I didn't have enough of that pink and I really wanted to add that pink. So just throwing that out there. And then this pattern paper, and you might have seen me do that with the other strip that is similar to this pattern paper, but it was a full 12 inches. I think it messed up somehow, so I had to add some more, but I'm just using a border punch. So any kind of smaller border punch, it can't be bigger than the strip itself unless you want it to be and can make it bigger. But I just took, I don't even know the name of that one, but it's just got like a tiny scallop. You can probably see on the screen. It's just a really tiny scallop. And it's just going to kind of hang out there. I believe that was also on the sample page. And I don't know, it really kind of gives it a really nice accent. Also, there is a blue circle on both pages. That blue circle is about 3 inches. If you can't do exactly 3 inches, don't worry about it. You can see I pulled out my dies. I don't have a 3-inch circle punch. Punches are so much easier than dies, but really dies are not that bad unless you have to make 500 of them. Then you're running them through your machine a lot. So then you'd probably want to punch, but so I don't have a 3-inch punch, but any kind of, and if you can't do exactly 3 inches, it's fine. There's no exact, you don't have to do an exact measurement on that circle, but just letting you know, I'm pretty sure mine is 3 inches. So I wanted this little strip to look like it was longer, so you can see that I'm just taking one of the little scraps and I'm just going to add it down and kind of line it up. I've already glued that blue circle down with wet glue, so I couldn't lift it back up, so that's another reason I'm using part of the scraps, but you would never know unless you had actually watched this video, so, there's that. Let me look. Oh, and this is another thing that I also believe is on the sample. Sorry, I'm trying to look at my little layout here too, so I can answer. All I'm doing right here is some faux stitching. This was long before I got my sewing machine. I probably still would have done the faux stitching. I don't really want to have to change the color of my thread in and out of my sewing machine, although I don't think it would be, it probably wouldn't be super hard once you got the bobbins filled up, I guess, but I wanted this one to be black, and I'm not good enough with mine yet anyway to do that straight of a line. So I just did little dashes. I really don't mind the faux stitching look at all anyway, so it's all good. And then I drew with a pencil. There was that word summer, but I knew it was a longer word and I kind of wanted it to be straight. So I did draw a small line with the pencil so I could line that word summer up, just make it look kind of nice. I don't remember now if that's how they had their title, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty close to that. You can go back to the beginning and see the page if you want to. And again, I'm pretty much going to do a lot of this left-hand page because it was so simple to follow what they had. This was not one of the months that was harder. This is one of the easier months, other than the gutting of the paper and kind of piecing it together. But I mean, that really wasn't all that hard. So just like all the other months, I have went ahead and popped up my gnomes, all the gnome stickers with foam tape. I think at one point halfway through the year, I went ahead and just added foam tape to like all of them. Either that or I did it right before working on the layout, because I have them all separated out by month at this point. And I think I did that in the beginning intro video as I kind of went along with everybody and separated it out and put them together. So check that out if you want to see if there's anything else you would be interested in checking out. So again, this pattern paper is what I guess you could call gutted, but this one's kind of gutted in a weird way. Not really sure why I cut out such weird shapes in it. Maybe we will see here in a minute. Again, I put all these layouts together last December, so at this point it's really hard to remember. All I have is what I can see from the layout, and since a lot of things are hidden underneath other things, it's kind of hard to know exactly for sure. So bear with me, but I don't know why that pattern paper had such a weird shape cut out of it, but on the screen right now is the measurements for the right hand side. And I do make this pink pattern paper strip a little wider so I can add 3 photo mats. I do pages with multiple photos. If you've been a subscriber for a while, you probably know that. So just FYI there. You could add 2 photos. You could make one larger 5x7 if you wanted. It would be super simple. If you might notice on the right hand side, the pink paper is a little wider than the 2 photo mats. So this side, all 3 will fit together on one, and the 2 on the left hand page have that little extra space. That's how they had it. They might have had their journaling there on their sample page. I can't really remember. Let me look. I'm going to look right here. Sorry for the extra noise. No, I'm not going to look because it won't open. Okay, I'm right. That's why they had that little extra space there, is because they had some journaling strips there. And I didn't really need journaling strips for there, so and if I did add them, I would still just add them even under those word stickers. Either way would work just fine. You will see that I do end up with a different place to add my journaling, so my journaling won't end up going there unless I have a lot to say or I want to do these as 2 separate pages. But because I like the way that they go together real well, I'm not going to do them as 2 separate pages. You will also maybe notice as I'm kind of cutting these out, I'm kind of laying them out on the white cardstock. I don't always do this, but for these ones, because I'm so limited on paper, I did kind of lay them out how I wanted them to look, and then I added tiny little pencil marks around where those are, so as I'm gluing them down now, I'm making sure that they are lining up with the pencil marks for the most part. That really helps when doing it this way. Now, if you didn't have the green for any reason for this part here, you could very easily just take a smaller strip and put it below that pink box and a really tiny green strip and put it above. You wouldn't need the entire box, just saying. Mine, luckily it worked out, so I could just put it there and it was fine. But just wanted to throw that out there. Now for my journaling, you can see I showed you that I punched this out of one of like the pieces that it comes with on one of the 12 by 12 sheets. And that's going to be I did this mostly because I needed a little more stuff to go over here on the right hand page, because there's a lot that went on the left hand page. And it just happened to work out perfectly that it was the exact same gnome as this. So I just made it and you can see the gnome is there, but because I'm using this exact same gnome, I'm just going to cover up that other one. And this one's on foam tape, so it is perfectly hidden. You wouldn't even be able to know again, if you weren't watching this or didn't see the video or whatever, you wouldn't know that was there. Again, I am using more of these kind of punch strips, and I'm going to add these down. I really like these. I like how they aren't lined up. You know, usually when I use border punches and things like that, I kind of line them up like I'm trying to do there. But I'm actually enjoying kind of having them floating off in different areas and not being lined up. I was very aware with that top piece that when I laid it down, it would look a little bit awkward being so far from that pattern paper, but I'm going to go ahead and add it there and not make it as tall, and it will look better than, you can see I made it a smaller piece. So it does add a little bit of kind of awkward space there, but not much. You can see I made it a tiny, tiny piece. And because it's such a small piece, it gives a little interest. I made sure to make it larger than that green box, but not as tall as the pattern paper box. So that's just a little hint there. I did not add the sizes for these because everybody's size will be a little bit different depending on which punch or border die you use. So you can kind of just eyeball it off of the size of your green paper or your pink paper and go from there. So now I'm going to work here on my right hand page, and I'm just now realizing I put the word August down, so I'm going to have to find some photos for this. Again, if you are new, I will let you know that I am going to do a recap video at the end of the year. I'm going to try to make sure that all of my layouts have photos on them instead of just the photo mats if I can. I think I've got about half of them done now, but not the entire year, because I know like January was a snow one, and we don't get snow here that often, so I have to dig through older pictures and find some snow pictures that are in January. If you didn't add the month there, then you could add any snow pictures, but I remember in January I added the month because I thought I had more pictures, but I didn't. So the pictures that I were thinking of was actually in February. So just throwing that little bit of tidbit out there, throwing that little tidbit out there. So now I'm just going to go ahead and add my cloud behind the sun there. And I think I use up about almost every sticker on here. So you guys know with this series, I'm also doing a calendar for a friend. So there is a photo at the end, and I had to be a little clever with the photo because I used all the stickers. You can also see the scraps that I am left with at the end. And there is the close-up photos. I also added a few gems. I think they're Pink Fresh, or I don't know who they are, but any gems would work. Honeybee has gems, everybody has gems. So I added 3 around in a bunch of different clusters to help bring your eye around the page. And that is it. So I know a lot of you said you've liked this series. I'm glad that you are enjoying it. And I hope to see you next time. If you have any questions, please let me know. All right, guys. See you next time. Bye.